All right, people, welcome to session 7. Today I'm going to teach you how to work with a framework. All this time you have been doing linear scripting in a modular basis, meaning all your code was in one class and you could not reuse the code for a different class. And today is the first day of showing you how to design a framework where you can use, you don't have to recreate codes for different classes. You create methods and you place it into certain places. You organize them and you store them in certain classes and you call the methods to get that work done. Now, typically a framework design and building, it takes months for a automation architect to do that for their company. I'm going to show you a very basic one that can be done within a few hours in class, and we're going to start automating test cases inside that framework starting today. I'm also going to, after it's done, upload it into GitHub, and you all will be able to download it or clone it into your local computer from GitHub and then start working on it. You are not required to build a framework for your company unless you go in as a test architect. But you may find a job where they're going to hire you and you go in and find out they have nothing. They don't have a QA. They have manual testers. They don't have any automation in place. And you may have to build a automation framework and start automating test cases for that company. If that's the case, good thing, bad thing. Good thing, you're going to get paid quite a bit. You're going to be the test lead. And if you are successful, you can become the QA manager. And then they'll probably hire more people and you'll train them and they're going to be working under your framework. You will learn and start working and building something that everybody else is going to follow. Bad thing is that the framework that we're going to show you in classes, all the classes that I'm going to have, it's just bare bone basic. It's enough to get something going, but there may be more complexities based on the company that you work for. And those complexities, you are going to have to fill in the gap by watching some more videos on YouTube, maybe doing more research on Yahoo and Google. Understand? So, but all of that, you should be able to do this. If you really learn this, what I teach you in class, you go and practice and you understand and you have the knowledge to extend your knowledge base by watching more videos, maybe taking additional advanced courses in Udemy. You should be able to do that still. And they're going to give you enough time. You can ask for up to 6 months from a company to build a framework, automation framework, if they don't have anything. It is totally normal for an automation engineer to set up all those things and test and debug and make sure everything is working, connect to the database, connect to the server. All of that setup takes time. So again, like I said, good and bad. Good, as a test lead, you're going to go in there, you can ask for a lot of money. Bad, it's going to take you a long time. It could be very frustrating for you to build a framework, but it's completely doable. And happy thing is, once you set everything up and it goes on and it starts running and you start adding test cases, you're the boss in that framework and in that company as QA. And you can ask for more budget and then they will hire more people. You train them. They're going to be automating test cases for you. You just watch and manage that whole thing. So your work is going to become a lot less. Okay? Would I, as a beginner, take on a job as an automation test lead? No. But if I was one of those students who attended every classes, went home and did all the homework, and was really doing awesome, yeah, I would take on. My personal case, I missed out a lot of classes for family reasons and my other career reasons, and I wasn't at that spot that I could take on. Maybe with an interview, I could have gotten a job, but I tried to avoid jobs of being a test lead because I knew that I didn't have what it takes to build a framework. But today I'm going to show you what it takes to build a framework. And if you really get this, go home and practice, you should be able to take on a job of a test lead. And you can tell in the interview that, yes, I have built a framework. Okay. Even if you just watch this class and understand some, go ahead and confidently tell them that you have the experience of building a framework. Okay? How? Explain it to them. They're never going to ask you to build a framework in the interview. It's impossible to do for somebody within a few hours. Okay? If they hire you as a test lead, you have to demand that they give you enough time, and they will give you enough time to build that whole framework. Okay? In that case, you can ask for on-the-job support, and we will help you build that framework over months, and then you continue with that. Okay? So in the interview, you are still going to go in with experience, and if they ask you, have you ever built a framework, you're going to say yes. Make sense? And don't be afraid of saying all that. Okay? So that's what you're going to learn today. Everything is going to be done in framework from now on. It's not going to be one class coding and trying to automate. I am not going to have you copy paste, recreate this framework over and over. I'm not going to make you do that. So from now on, everything that I give you is going to be on GitHub. All codes are going to be in GitHub. So you don't have to copy paste. You just clone the project into your local, and then you start working on it, and you look at it, you add some things to it. Now, if you want to practice how to create a framework, you can follow this particular session 7 and do it yourself, or watch my video and then recreate the framework yourself and see if it works. Okay, that'll be what I would advise you to do if you want to become a framework architect. Otherwise, if you just clone the project in your local and play with it, automate some test cases in it, you're good to go. As long as you're able to automate test cases, you should gain the confidence in your interview to tell them that you have been an automation engineer. Okay, we only have a handful of classes. This is session 7. 13 is the last session, and after that they're going to prep you to go to job market for interviews. So if you do things well and you want to do fast track, you should be talking to Adnan right now and ask him to set up a resume for you. Okay, and work on that market preparation. That takes about minimum 1 to 2 weeks. Why? Because Adnan is going to give you a set of videos to watch about market, meaning industry. And then he's going to set up he's going to ask you to look at sample resumes and put your information in a resume. Okay? You're going to get that resume. He's going to put some companies on that resume from his database, and so that everybody knows what companies he selected in your resume. Okay? And you're going to have to practice talking about which companies you work for. You have to research those companies. You have to create script of if they're, and they are going to ask you always in the interview, so tell me about yourself. Okay, and tell me about yourself is like a very broad question. What do you want to tell me? Should I tell you about my childhood? or my work experience, okay, they want you to know, to tell them that what you did in your workspace, and you have to tell them about what you have in your resume, and that's 7 years. There's a lot to talk about. You need to practice that, talking about all that. Okay, so all of that work you can start doing right now. If you contact him, and you have to kind of bug him to do that. Okay, typically if he notices that you are a very good student, he's going to bug you to go into the market, right? And or if you don't know him and he doesn't know that you're a really good student, you have to bug him saying, hey, I want to go to the market. Can you set me up? What do I have to do? Ask those questions, and then he's going to tell you step by step, and you have to keep on bugging. Okay, but he's pretty good. He gets, he paid for all this support. He's going to walk you through all that. So this is a good time for you to knock on his door and do that. If you want to just jump into the market on my 13th day of class, but if you want to wait a little bit longer, you can do that. But if I were you, and you all look like very good students, I would ask him to set all that up for you on the side, so you do both. And then after my 13th session, your resume is ready, you have practiced, you have created cheat sheets, note cards, whatnot, and now you're ready to upload your resume. As soon as you do that, recruiters are gonna try to kill you with calls. Okay, you won't have any personal life anymore. Nobody would be able to call you on your phone because it's gonna be all recruiters. You don't know which one is what. Okay. So, and but just be ready for that. That's a good thing because you want that interview, right? So your goal is gonna be get as many interviews as you can. It's a numbers game. So 20, 30, 40, just keep on taking interview. Each interview is gonna teach you something good. Okay, you're gonna come out a better, stronger automation engineer from each interviews. Come more confident. Okay, you know the answers. You write down the questions and you keep researching on that. The ones that you couldn't answer, you go watch more videos. Okay, not all the answers are provided in the class. So we try to be as up to date as possible, but things are changing rapidly. So it's really hard to keep track of. They're going to ask for a lot of things. Just tell them what you learned in this class. Don't tell them you learned in this class. Yeah, but just tell them that everything we taught you in Tech Files, you have learned those at your workplace. Okay, so, and you got to give some examples and things like that. You got to make up some stories, and you should be good to go. Careful what you wish for. You're gonna get a job. That's not a problem. Okay, getting a job is piece of cake. I have people calling me. I had one woman call me yesterday from Connecticut. She took a class here, got a job for NASDAQ, and this is her second job. She had another job and did for like 6 months or so. That was a UI automation job, and she was doing very well. It was pretty easy. She was jumping around trying to make more money. So she took this job at NASDAQ, and you all know what NASDAQ is, stock exchange. Okay, so she took this job because she can work from home few days, and they also offered her a ton of money. I'm sure it's over $150,000 a year. Unfortunately, the framework that she went into, it's not testing UI, but it's testing database and some other things that, stock exchange things, numbers. And it's with IntelliJ instead of Eclipse, and she's struggling with that now. So when she spoke with me yesterday asking for assistance, she was very frustrated. She had a wonderful job with UI testing, but she went into something she wanted more money for, and now she's super frustrated and she doesn't know what to do. She called around everywhere. No one has the skill set to assist her in surviving. She's trying to take the IntelliJ project and load it into Eclipse because she learned Eclipse in Tech Files. And I tried to do that. Sometimes it's a hit or miss. It doesn't work. Okay. I love Eclipse. IntelliJ, because IntelliJ, I know it's a little more complicated than Eclipse, but once you learn it, it's so much better than Eclipse. Okay? I wish I had the curriculum to teach you that, but I highly recommend that if you go into a workplace and they use IntelliJ, use that. It's just a different software to automate test cases. Like Eclipse, it is almost like Eclipse. It has a little more features. Nothing to be afraid of. I had no idea what IntelliJ was when I joined the job. Okay, and but 3 weeks later, with additional classes, I was taking classes, YouTube, watching videos, reading some books, Udemy. I was taking some courses, but I didn't finish them. While I was like looking at the framework that I was migrated into, and I was able to figure it out. Yeah, it took me 3 weeks. So anybody can do that as well. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why we don't switch to it?
IntelliJ, you have a community free version. Okay. Eclipse is just one of many IDEA or integrated development environment, right? So it's just one of many. Why do we use Eclipse for this course? It's easiest, simplest, and it's free. Now, IntelliJ is also free, okay? But they have a paid version as well. Their paid version is phenomenal. You can still get work done with the free version. We don't teach in TechFiles because the TechFiles culture grew up with Eclipse. Whoever before me was teaching Eclipse, and they don't have experience with IntelliJ. There's another one called NetBeans. There's another one called Springboard or something. Those are good for different languages. Okay. There is one Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio. That's good for C#. So if you're based on doing C#, that's really good. So you might want to look into that. If companies are using C#, most likely they're going to be using Visual Studio. Enrico works in a company that uses Visual Studio and he uses C#. By the way, Java and C# is almost the same. All right, and I may be able to show you some because they're asking me to show you, teach you C# as well. But if I don't get a chance, and you go into a job that they ask you for, hey, we only use C#, not Java, okay? And you need not to be afraid, and you need to be confident and say, yeah, I have experience in C#. There is virtually very little difference in C# and Java. Java came first. What C# Microsoft did is took Java and made it easier. Instead of doing system.out.println and then you type in what you want to print, it's console.print. Because you're printing it in the console, right? So Microsoft said, why do I need to write all that junk when I can just say I want to print it in the console? So put all that in a console class and then have a method called print. So console.print, and whatever you want to print, you can type it in the bracket. That's it. So C# is much easier, and don't panic with that. And if you get into a field with C#, just take it. All right. But enough with that. I'm getting away from what I have in mind for you. Before I start, I would like someone to share the homework. So, Saida, are you okay with sharing your homework and see what you did? All right, let's do that. I'm making you the presenter, and ready when you are. Just 1 second. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so I started with question 5. I did up to 1 through 10 because I couldn't do it that many times. You had to do the pop-up.
Can you unmute yourself? Is it unmuted?
Yeah.
I am going to mute myself.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Okay, how about now? Online folks, can you hear her?
Hello? Hello? Check. 1, 2, 3. No, I'm good. I unmute myself.
I think we hear you.
Oh, okay. Thank you for confirming. Yes.
Stop the sound in TV, so you won't hear it, but you will hear it from your computer if you have a speaker on.
Okay.
I think they can hear you.
Okay, so
Yeah, actually we hear, yeah.
okay, awesome. Thank you. So what I did was from here to here is the same logic. We just log in, and I logged into driver, then went to the website and put the password in. From here, what I did was I found the XPath for the dashboard, and then for the Cash App, not Cash App, I mean Bank and Cash and new account. Then I went to the accounts. From accounts, I put in my information for the new accounts. Then I submitted click, and then I scroll down. So I can play that, and we could see it visually. But for pop-out alert, I used this method here, but it wasn't working. So I think, yeah. So I'll show you. I'll show you. Let me just comment this out.
Like a success message, or is that the pop-up you're talking about? Or?
It's like press OK if you want to delete.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So the thing is, with this code here, I actually have to find the place where my new account is saved. So I actually have to change its number. So this can be successful. So let me see if it's gonna be successful before I can show you. Okay, it's working. Just give me a second. Okay, so it's gonna scroll down, but there's an option. Oh, it closed. Sorry, I should have commented this out. So there was this option. I want to show this. Let me comment this.
Account already exists. You need to change the name.
It's okay. So
I would still use to find this is what I created. Where I go I didn't teach you that.
so
So how's that?
So when I add account, for me, I have to see which account is the last one, get the number, and put this here. So it's 94. So my new account will be 95. I know it's too much, but I need to ask that question.
So your
because I have-
XPath is basically taking in that data
Mhm.
of what you provided
Yeah,
for account name.
but I think there's a for loop that can be used to find the last account made and delete that one.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if that's going to apply.
That can be done as well. I like that you devise it that way. It's very creative.
Mhm.
Have you thought about concatenating?
Oh no, I didn't.
You could put plus
Oh,
and plus, and instead of every time you run a test case and then you change that, what you can do is you can concatenate that XPath. So go in there where it says right after that single quote,
okay.
not the double quote. On the right side of the single quote, put a double quote first, and then put a plus, and then put another double quote. Well, you don't need to. Just yeah, and delete that text.
Okay.
Yeah, delete the double quote. Well, actually, come back left of the double quote, right side of the plus sign. Right side of the plus sign.
Oops, sorry.
Put another plus sign. Inside the plus sign, you can type in any variable. What was that random number?
9695.
Did you store it in a variable
No,
or a storage container?
no.
Okay, go ahead and store that in a container up there somewhere. Where are you generating it?
Here. Oh,
Show me the
Here.
code where you're generating that.
this is the code that I'm generating it here.
Line 87.
Line 87.
No, that's where you are actually
Using
creating a
Concat.
web element.
Okay.
So where did you find that random number? Yeah, that
Oh.
was there within the plus signs.
So
Inspect.
in here. There. Here.
That, and does that keep changing?
Yes.
Every time you add, it changes. Add or delete.
Is that an ID field?
Yes.
Yeah, ID. When
Yeah.
it's changing, it's
Mhm.
changing.
So it's not
Yeah.
provided by you.
No.
No.
No, it's
Then-
keep changing.
Then you can't use that.
Yeah, it's keep changing. It's like
Yeah.
I remember IDs keep changing.
Generate it.
Yeah, it's.
Then you have to use XPath X. I thought that was the random generated account name
Yeah. No.
that you were passing. Then in that case, you won't be able to use this because imagine you build a test case. After you
Yeah.
build, you forget it.
Oh,
And that test case will be run automatically from GitHub through Jenkins, and you're not gonna try to update every time you run a test case.
Yeah. It's like updating the code.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
were you having issues in creating an XPath for that field
The XPath was
without that
okay.
ID?
Yeah, but the XPath was what I did when I made the XPath over here. It wouldn't work with the new account. I mean, if I leave the same number, the number is associated with the account. So if I delete this account, this number would disappear. I would have another number for it. That number would be only associated with that account.
Yeah, but that's kind of a hard coding.
It is.
That's like a hard coding kind.
Yeah.
Basically, you are creating that account
for
And
that.
for that, you are evaluating with that particular random number which is not generated, right?
Yeah.
Can
So
you,
it's like hard coding.
you have this data, right?
Mhm.
Can you right click and
Inspect.
hit inspect? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
So could you not come from there and then delete that?
yes, I tried doing an XPath, but I couldn't.
No, you have to do expand X.
Access.
Yeah.
I did up to there.
Okay, I'll tell you what
Yeah.
to do. Go ahead and type that in. Control F to give me the search box.
Okay.
Right? So you already know this is your expected.
Uh-huh.
That's the delete button you want to delete or click on, not anything else. So there is a delete button associated with that only. So scroll down a little bit.
This
See
one.
that text is under a certain table row.
Yes.
You want to stay within that row. All right?
Okay.
So what you do is first thing, let's see how we're going to do this. Many ways you can do this. But go ahead and hit a / and use TD. And you know you want that text,
Mhm.
right? So TD
Content.
contains or even text equals. So open close parentheses.
Parentheses.
Yeah, don't say contains. You want that exact text. Because contains may take you somewhere else.
Okay.
So not like that. Text, open close parentheses. And this is, it's gonna be a square bracket.
Oh.
Text equals to, because we didn't use contains.
Okay.
And now single quote, 2 single quotes, and you have that text, and then close the parentheses, and see if you got connected.
Mhm.
Okay, we're good. We got to this far. Now we need to hop over and get to the delete, right?
Mhm.
Let's see how we're gonna do this. How is it set up? Go scroll down a little bit more, and bring this whole thing down here. If you can bring this window down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hover over somewhere here, and you should be able to pull this down.
Okay.
And
That works too. You can close the other side. Wait, it's fine.
scroll
Okay.
down a bit.
Where are we? Oh.
Here, up, here. This is the
This is
window.
where we are.
Yes.
All right. So we want to get to this element right here
Mhm.
that says delete. We can just get to up to here, right?
Mhm.
And the relationship right here that we see is siblings. Agree? And this is child. And another child. Okay? So we want to get to this guy, and his child is I. We need to get to this TD, and then this child here. So
Maybe.
that may be tricky because this sibling doesn't have any identity
Mhm.
of his own.
Yeah.
That's the problem
Yeah,
for me.
that's okay. But we can go to the father, and father can direct us here, right? So how about parent TR? Parent TR is going to only take you up there. And you know we're not touching any other delete button. The other delete buttons are in this TR.
Don't delete that.
All those other TRs have the delete button.
Put one
We're
slash
not going to
forward
touch
slash
and delete those.
and write start.
So
writing.
if you say / parent, I think 1 /
Yeah, only one
yeah,
forward
only
slash.
1 / parent, and then what syntax do we use?
TR.
Colon,
Colon.
Okay.
parent,
Parent, incorrect, parent. Colon.
no
that's
curly
it.
braces,
No curly braces.
Oh.
nothing, just /
Parent.
parent,
Mhm.
Colon.
colon,
Oh, I'm confused with colon. I know it's not curly.
Two
It's-
dots.
Okay.
2 dots. Instead,
Okay.
yeah, shift, semicolon.
one more colon.
Okay.
And then put a star symbol there, just to see that your spelling is correct, everything is good. If you put a star, it's gonna light up,
Mhm.
if you did everything right.
If you got it wrong, if nothing lights up, your spelling is wrong, or you didn't put a forward slash, or maybe you put a single colon, whatever and whatnot. Now that if something got lit up, it by default took that. And see, it's only one of one. You don't even have to say who the parent is. But if you want to be specific, you can take this star off and put TR. That would still take you there because it is TR. Okay? Now you got to the parent, you want to get to here. What are you going to use?
Descendant.
Descendant. Because this is child, these are siblings. This child is this. They have siblings. And this child's child is that. That's way down in the family line. And the word that we use for that is descendant. So write again, forward slash.
Oh,
Remember, here's the syntax. Forward slash, relationship, colon, colon. Okay? Forward slash, relationship, colon, colon, and put a star to see if you're doing this right, if your spelling is right. So you put a star, it didn't work, right?
Yeah.
That means something wrong with your spelling. So let's try that again. D-E-S-C-E. Okay, D-E-S-C-E-N-G-A-N-T. Colon, colon.
D-A-N-T.
D-A-N-T? Oh, okay.
Colon, colon, and put star to see if your spelling is right. If something got lit up, you got it right. Okay? But where you want to get to, you take that star off and put I. And there you go. You are there.
Two I.
There are two
So there are
There's
two
two
I's.
eyes.
One I with a FFA pencil, the other one is that. And notice this text is kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's not in here. If the text was in here, you could have said text equals delete. Okay? You have to use it fast. Okay?
Okay.
Worst case, if this class and this class is exactly same, what can you use?
We can use in the bracket.
The marker.
Or choose something like that.
In the square
And
bracket,
that's
you
why
have to
we
say
can
Index.
Index.
one would be this, the other would be that. Not the best thing to do, but you have no choice.
Index.
Okay? Sometimes you have to deal with that. All right? What are the chances that they're gonna have another button here with another I? One I is edit, the other is delete. This is a bad code. These are buttons. This should be not under I. This should say button. But this is a fake website we're testing. You can ask the developer when you're working for your company. If you see they didn't put the word button, you could ask them, hey, do you mind putting buttons? In my company, they never had ID or name. Well, it was horrible for me to start up the company and start automating stuff. I couldn't do it without Expat Axis. Everything was Expat Axis I was using. Now, I've been pushing the developers. All they have to do is this easy. This is the code. Okay? They're writing this code. They can easily go in here and just add another attribute on that. Okay? They can have a nice little booklet and say that this is a very important piece. We want to put an ID for that. This is a very important piece. We put an ID for that. But they don't do it in links. So if you don't ask them, somebody doesn't require it, they're not going to take their time and put an ID. But as simple as they're writing this code, just go in here, they don't even have to put a comma. You've done an HTML class. They just have to type in that ID and whatever name they want to give it. That's it. And that's that simple. But still they don't do it. So you can push for it and say that it's a good, it's very important for the testing QA environment that we have an ID. Otherwise, our expat fails. We can change some things. Now, in our company, we've been kind of bugging them, and everybody uses it. It became a culture. Okay. And I don't have to do expat axis.
And just do ID. Okay. So that's the XPath you're going to use instead of any other attribute over there. What you're going to change is this. So go ahead and copy that. And let's take it to your framework. Because you know this random generated text is going to be different each time. So yeah, inside that, paste it. You know that this is going to change every time. You're going to concatenate your XPath. Okay? What part of it? That random number. So what you do, here's a shortcut, fancy way, a fast way to do it. Go ahead and just highlight that much. Okay? And now, hold the shift. Okay? Press quote plus plus quote. Keep holding the shift.
Double quote.
Quote,
Yeah.
quote plus.
Not colon.
Double quote.
Quote, quote.
Double quote. Quote plus plus quote.
2 quotes?
No.
Just
Go
one
back
quote?
again. One quote, or maybe it automatically provided 2 quotes. Sometimes it does that. But IntelliJ, I just press shift, quote plus plus quote. And that gives me this. And inside what is there, those 2 plus signs, whatever I put in, it's going to go into that. Okay. So now, scroll up. Let me see where you created the random generated number.
I didn't. No.
Or did
Didn't.
you just pass it?
Yeah, I passed it. I got the XPath, then put it in here each time.
So you had to do this each time?
Yes.
Let's quickly go ahead and, yeah, it's simple. Where is
Okay.
your,
Here.
right here, right?
17.
Right there?
Okay.
Just, yeah, let's create it right there.
Okay.
Put some enters, give me some space.
Okay.
Scroll, yeah, go up there.
Mhm.
Tell me.
Random
Random,
number.
with a name. Yeah.
You go new.
You can even call it random, that's fine.
Okay.
The first random, it has to be capital R.
Random, new random.
Yeah, random, give it a name. Space.
I'm spelling
space.
random wrong, am I?
Yeah, that's fine, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Pizza.
That's true. Yeah. Space,
New random.
and then
New
New.
random.
Lowercase. And then same random word.
I have to put
Space.
random.
No, no, don't say that.
Okay.
Caps lock R.
This was my interview question. How do you generate a random number? I didn't know the answer. Hey, you guys are
It's
so
a
much
letter.
smarter than
So I
me
column.
today.
Hit enter.
That's great.
It's not
Pizza
working.
dot.
So hover over and import random java.util.
Okay.
And
Pizza-
with
pizza
pizza dot something, you can generate a random number, right? But you gotta store it somewhere.
Pizza dot.
So where do you want to store it?
Integer.
Integers.
Not integer,
Int.
because anything you pass into XPath is always
As a string.
is a string.
String.
So if you want a string, you cannot, well, you can pass integer, but that might cause some issues.
Casting.
It's a string.
Casting.
Website takes string, right? You know this code right here, XPath takes a string. You can't put an int in here,
Mhm.
okay? You may be able to put int right there.
Okay.
I have to test it out. I can't 100% remember. But let's just do string for the safety.
Pizza.
So string, don't call it pizza.
Okay.
String, we're creating a container to store that random number. Pizza is going to give us that random number.
But she has to create one random number for that. She has to create one int right for that container.
Yeah,
Int
that's what
random
I was
number
talking.
equals random rnd dot next int or something.
That's going to give us an int.
Yeah, that will give
We're
us.
going to have to convert it.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah, but
gonna have-
that should give, right? It will give that.
It's
You
gonna
are just give,
yeah,
reducing
sure.
the code right now.
Sure, it's going to give us an int,
Yeah,
right?
it will give one
But we want it as a
int string.
string.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
Casting.
change it to a string later. But our container is gonna store what?
String.
Yeah, I can have a container, store int, then convert it.
Yeah,
That might be too much
exactly.
work.
That's a one layer of extra word.
Extra work, one extra line of code.
One extra line.
Let's just go ahead and call it string, and you say con as container. Now, go ahead and generate a, let's go ahead one by one. Generate and put it in there. Equal sign is like, I'm gonna put that into the container called con.
Okay.
So, go back to the Eclipse.
Okay, I'll just take this number.
No, you don't need to do anything.
Mhm.
Just say
Oh, okay.
pizza dot, and it's gonna give you an option to generate a random number.
Go for it.
Because your pizza has the random number power. Dot,
Start.
see that? All these things
Mhm.
can give you some options, right? Next int. There's also next float.
Mm-hmm.
It will give you a decimal random number. Float is decimal.
Excuse me.
Well, we don't want to mess with decimal. Give it next int. With that int bound. Go with that int bound. That way you can actually select how many digits you want.
Right. 4
You
9s.
take that one,
9.
and in the bound, it's like, what is your boundary? Yeah, 9999, that's fine. It's giving you red, telling you this is gonna give you integer. You're storing it in a string.
String.
Mhm.
Not allowed. Type mismatch. That's okay. You can always fix that. Very easy way is
Double quotation.
always go to the left of that whole thing. So this part right here,
Mhm.
go to the left.
Mhm.
Any data you want to change, always go to the left of that data. And then if you want to change it to a string, type string dot, and there is something called value of.
Copy value of.
VA,
Value of.
just type in VA, value of, and you have what? You're
Int.
taking int and changing to a string, so you want that one. Okay. Now, what happens is they give you this frame. All of that junk needs to go in there.
Okay.
So you copy the rest, put it inside that method. That method takes integer, turns it into a string, stores it in your computer container. Done. Okay. Now that CON word has that random number. So instead of send keys this,
Uh-huh.
you're going to send keys con. Don't have to put a quote.
Oh, no code.
No quote needed. Because if you put quote, what are you sending?
String.
String.
The word
Sure.
CON. But if you don't put quote and just write CON, it's
Random.
taking the memory space, whatever is in that memory, which is randomly generated, nobody knows. You can't see it. Whatever is generated, every time it's going to generate something. And that's the one you want when you want to find the next thing.
What if someone has the name account, like what it's gonna put a number instead of the account
With the
filling
Like what?
The
with
name.
with the name and the number? Okay.
What do you mean?
So when we were
Like a name and a number?
yeah,
Yeah, you can do that.
like
I just got, last week I had a guy from India wrote a code and he created a method to generate, and he was just taking, he put A through Z alphabets
Mhm.
and randomly taking character from there. Okay?
Mhm.
So you can also devise something where it's going to take randomly some characters
Mhm.
and some numbers,
okay.
and you can make that more sophisticated. You can put another plus right here. Don't do it.
Okay.
But you can put another plus and another random character or character before and then the number, whatever you want. This software doesn't care. It just needs something unique. It's going to take numbers, letters, whatever that is. And as long as your whatever you are passing in
Mhm.
is unique and it's acceptable,
fine with it. Don't waste your time trying to make it fancy. Because your automation is going to put the account there and also delete it out. Nobody cares what you put in. You only care, was I able to create the account? And was I able to update the account? Was I able to delete the account? If my test case passed, your software works. If my test case failed, your software may be broken or my code may be broken. Understand? And then you go and check those. Do you want to run it down? Let's see.
No, deleting.
What does the test case say? Is it passing, failing?
It's failing.
Okay, let's see, look at the failure reasons. That's going to tell you what defects we have, and we may have to fix the code a little bit. So, no such element, unable to locate element 21. Can you take that, copy that? And we're going to check to see if.
It's not letting me. I can type it.
Okay, just copy it from up there.
Okay.
Yeah, just take the whole thing,
Okay.
and we'll replace that. Go in here. Oh, see, it never, it had something else there.
Name
Yeah.
was she concatenated with the sand keys and she was right.
Okay,
she
so go back, we
concatenated.
can fix that.
Yeah, you can just put it name.
Don't delete it. Don't delete.
No, I'm sorry. I inspected it.
No, it's okay. Just go to Eclipse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Create name was coming.
Okay. Should I
You see
take
what
this
you were
out?
passing?
Yeah. your
Should I
name
take
was
that
there.
out?
Okay. All right. Put the name. That's
She
fine.
just deleted the name.
Yeah.
Okay, then it should be fine. Now go ahead and
Okay.
run the test case.
Okay. Sorry.
Because it was looking for
The name.
the number only, and you had the name. And
Yeah.
then
Sorry.
find the element.
Um,
Still running.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. It worked.
But did it delete?
No. It's still being run.
Is that what we created?
Yes.
Yes.
We don't know actually, it's random number, right?
Yeah.
Once we have to see what we have created.
Okay. Go into the code, and
Okay.
this is how you're gonna put a marker. Yeah, seesaw. Go a little bit up before it fails. So before you delete it,
Okay. Here.
even
Further delete.
even in here, yeah, just right
After
after,
sand keys. After sand keys.
yeah, just write seesaw
After sand keys, right?
print that con. You want to see what
Just
we
gone.
created? Okay. Yeah, do it now. You never said click over here?
Yes. Oh, sorry. That's why I commented out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I commented out. Sorry.
Then it's not a click, right? You may have to rerun it so you can stop
Run it again.
and rerun.
Stop the execution first. Then
All right, there you go. 9989. Scroll down, that's the one.
Yes,
Is
it's
that deleted?
yeah.
Are you sure? Why is that not clicking?
Oh, that's the pop-up.
We can just click on that OK button. We do have to do pop-up. Pop-up.
So
It will come, so switch to pop-up.
I have the pop-up here. Alert.
Okay, so unblock that. Pop-up, you have to probably do
Except
accept.
not dismiss.
Yeah,
Okay.
dismiss
Dismiss
is
and
cancel.
cancel.
Okay.
And
Not accept.
driver switch to alert dot accept and run the,
Okay.
and that will
Take it on the pop.
Okay. Run again. Can I close these?
Switch to alert.
Okay.
Run one more time.
Switch to alert.
It should take care of it.
That's what we have.
scroll down, delete button, accept. Manually. Can you right click on that? Maybe it's not a pop-up.
Yeah, that's what
Maybe it's not. Yeah. Again, do it again. Right click on that OK. Inspect. It's not a alert.
Yes.
That's the button.
If it's an alert, you won't find a code in your in the page. If it's an alert, you have to do it that way. But if there's code there that says OK, then it's not an alert. Yeah. Yes. You inspect to find out what it is. If you see no code, it's an alert.
So is this the another frame, iframe?
No iframe. It's
Yeah.
embedded inside this code. It shows up. Code only comes when there's that message. And then this whole thing will go away. So go ahead and right click and inspect again.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna come in here. See this part right here?
Yes.
Actually, this entire node from this div will show up and go away when it's done. Comes and goes. But it's inside the code. So it's not pop-up.
Okay.
Pop-up will not have any code in it.
Okay.
You have to say so.
Manually? No,
No,
not.
So now let's go and find that. You just have to say, see, there might only be one OK button
Yeah.
in this whole thing. So you could say button text equals OK.
The parentheses, right? No.
Square bracket
Bracket, square bracket.
text equals single quote
Square bracket.
and close the square bracket.
Okay.
And it didn't catch it. So put lowercase OK. Text. T-E-X.
Oh. Look at my spelling today.
That's okay. And maybe uppercase. There you go. And there's only one. Take that, and you have to click on it, say OK.
Okay.
So let's put a web element.
Okay. Click on it.
Yeah, let's try to cancel out. Or delete that page if you want to. Go to Eclipse,
Go to Eclipse.
and right there, you don't need the alert. And type in, yeah, take that.
Where is it? Oh, where did I paste it?
It's here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm getting very nervous right now. I don't know why.
Yeah. Also, I like the way you did this web element.
Mhm.
I like it. So do that web element, not this line. Yeah. Just take the whole thing. Yeah, take the whole thing, copy it over. Yeah, change this delete to OK button.
Okay.
Yeah, put the expand there.
You didn't copy.
Yeah, take that. And you can say OK button element. Yeah. But if you want to, don't want to type too much just because it's homework, it's
Mhm.
okay. But if you
Okay.
go to your workplace, you want to keep everything uniform, you gotta all caps. This is gonna be all caps.
All caps.
All caps with underscore. And you have to say OK button help.
Okay.
But that's okay. Don't worry about it right now. Yeah, this would be the industry standard. Sure.
Ah.
I would say button. What
Sorry.
element is this? Button and then element. And take that, put it here, and we got it.
Run.
Let's run it now. This is beautiful. It's like harmony. We automatically something happens.
Tesla.
Yeah, it's magic. Some developers come to my desk and they look at it like, what's going on in here? I'm like, magic.
Oh, it's been
And
deleted.
they don't know how to do this. Yeah, they're good at something, but you're good at something else
And Stan, now we have to validate that account.
if you want to.
If the question says,
Okay. I don't have the time to show you that.
So
I gotta
sorry.
move on.
Stan, so every
Yeah.
time
It's
we run this test case, okay, it will take the same element, delete it, and then we do validation.
Yeah, if you have it in the automation, it will validate the message. I would recommend validate the message because that message is probably a requirement. And if that message one day didn't show up, your automation will fail. You caught it. If you didn't put it in your automation, you won't catch it if it never showed up one day. So yeah, it's a simple little bug. That doesn't mean that the account never deleted. Just the message didn't show up. Account deleted. Okay. Actually, you would want to go a little bit farther. Go back to the website. And if you're at that level, you would take this whole column of data after you have deleted. Because you deleted, but you never checked whether that really took it off from that column or not. Make sense? This column of data is being displayed from database. Right? Whatever you have in the database, it sends an API call. Okay? Whenever you are on this page, there is an API. Right click and inspect. Let me show you this.
Anyway.
Beyond this class, but
Okay.
I keep going too deep. Click on network
Okay.
and refresh the page. Click here. Click the header. And that's your API.
Oh.
Increase this a little bit more.
Maximize it.
There's more API calls here are being made. But can you delete this? Delete that right after the next. Yeah, clear that. Refresh the page. And here's the call, okay? That was the first call made. Scroll up. That was the first call made. Look what it's calling. Click on it. This page automatically, when it's loaded, it sends out an API call. The API, it's a code that you can't see. Okay? That code is located in here, that location. It goes to techfiles.com/test folder, billing, / and then there's some question mark and stuff like that to hide where it is. Okay? You may be able to take that, copy, paste it into your web address and hackers try to do that. Don't do it. You won't have access to it. Because there's some security feature in here. There's a token or something. Usually, when you logged in, it gives you a session token, a very unique number. With that token only, you can access whatever the code is in that file.
when you get to that file and in that code that the developer has, that code is going to take you to the server. There's a database in the server. Look for the list of customers, pull it, and display it in this page. Make sense? In a nutshell, there's more to it. And then we see all the list of customers on the website. So this page is automatically built in with that API. You may have to do the API testing. Remember that? You're going to have to test that, whether that works.
So we can test
Oh my God, I'm just talking and talking, and I have like something totally different to teach today. But I have to give you this, because do you understand API?
Yes.
Yeah, we
A little bit,
We do.
yes.
Okay. And you understand this 200?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
So I'm going to shut up.
status quo.
There's a whole chapter on this, and you can get a job just doing API testing. But what happens is, so that comes in from the database, and now minimize it because I can keep on going, talk whole day about this. Just go to that page again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just close this.
So this is database in a fancy looking email. You have to validate this to make sure that really the account deleted. So scroll down. Your eyes know that, hey, this was there before, now it's not. You have to ask Java to do that. So for Java to do that, you have to take all of these data, pull it from the table with the list, which I'm going to show you later. And then with the loop, you check the list one by one item at a time. And you make sure that whatever you passed, whatever you created with the name, it doesn't display. And then you say pass. If it displays, you
Fail.
fail the test case. Understand? That would be the end of a beautiful professional test case. You can't do anything better than that. Now, if you want to go the extra mile and call the database and go and check that, well, this is the database. That's my argument. Some my colleagues will argue, but then I'm like, isn't this displayed from the database? Why do you need to do the extra code to go to the database? Because your extra code may be faulty, and if I break, you just say something. We'll keep it simple. Okay. Let's take 10 minutes break, come back, and we'll talk about framework. Can you share that code
Yes.
with everybody in the class after class?
Okay, I'll do it by GitHub. I'll just share by GitHub.
You have uploaded this?
No, I can do it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then give that link to the rest and they can clone the project.
Okay.
Wow. You guys figured it out? Yeah.
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 With one class? Amazing. Nice. We pause the recording and let's take a 10 minutes break.
Again, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So what we were saying here is any company you go to, they have a customer website, and that's called external. And they have their company website called internal. Why? Customers want to see some fancy stuff. They can go and create an account, check their benefits, health insurance, for example, if they wanted to book an airline or government sites or whatever, okay? But they also have hundreds of people in their company. They have to monitor those things, those people, okay? They have to provide checks, money, benefits for these people. Also, there are some other things that they have to do with that customer. Let's say you went in and you are a customer, you filled out a page and you created an account. You created an account for some sort of loan. You didn't get approved yet. Okay? You don't see anything else. It just says wait for company decision. They're gonna do the underwriting thing and stuff. So this website, which is an external website, took that information. Either somebody gets to the another page, looks at that information that customer doesn't have access. That is the internal. Okay. Now it cannot be embedded into this. Sometimes it is embedded into this. With your username, you will see some pages show up. If you're a customer, you only see session 2. If you're an internal user, with your username has some power, then you will see session 3 and more. And you can go there. That's one way. 2, don't even bother. All customers see all pages in this site, but there's another application that only you as an internal user, you would go in. That application, that website is linked to this website. If you filled out that information here, that information goes to that other website. Why do they want to do that? Security. Because this website, what if someday your security feature fails and customer logs in, now they can see that more button. Oh my God. That's going to have all the other customers' information. They applied for their social security number, their other accounts number when they applied for the loan. So for security reason, they don't want to put it on the same website. They want to put it far away with another web URL, but it's still linked. Okay, so you go in there, and that website could be doing all that information for loan application, and underwriters are probably looking at that, doing some analysis. Okay, people stuff. That people stuff can be wiped out if you create software automation, meaning software will do that. Software will go in and do the background check. And software has code to check the background check, and there's some ratings, make a decision. Software is intelligent enough to look at your credit score, this variable, that variable. There is a mathematics to it. These guys are called actuaries. Actuaries can create a math formula that can look at this variable, hundreds of variables, and weigh it percent-wise, and come up with a score, and decide if you get this score, approve loan. If you get this score, don't approve, deny the loan. No human needed. All their jobs gone. Okay? But not all companies are at that level right now. People want to be, because you have to pay like $200,000 for an actuary salary. These are the mathematical genius guys, and they make the most amount of money in the math industry. So,
What money?
actuaries,
Is the amount money?
a lot.
200.
Minimum 200,000
Oh.
salary. There's a handful of people, insurance companies have that, because they look at all the variables and they come up with the mathematics. They predict future variables. Okay, a lot of things. So that's that. But you got a job, and you're gonna have the job, because companies are gonna move to that. They're gonna have sites to do that. They're gonna have digital intelligence to do that, and they need somebody to connect the digital intelligence. Okay, so future for QA automation.
If you are related to sort of a question about actuaries,
Okay.
do insurance companies or who the actuaries?
I have a feeling, I have looked into this field, there's like 200 something or 400 something people in the United States that are actuaries, and they're part of an actuary association. You have to be certified by them. They have a chancellor, they have a medal, Okay, there's like a culture of this thing. Okay, either you're part of them or not part of them, right? Stuff like that. So I don't think there's very few people outside of the United States. Maybe some. And I've looked at their mathematical tests. It's difficult. I even looked into this field to get in, but I can't imagine certified actuary in the actual actuarial association or someone outside who doesn't speak English will be able to pass the test. It's going to be super genius, yeah. Because you have to read a couple of pages of scenario to come up with a mathematical calculation to answer one question. That's just one question. And there's probably over 100 questions in there. Okay. So there's so much English jargon in that. I tried to figure some things out. I was able to answer like few questions, but on time. Took me hours. I knew that if it took me this much to just read it and understand it, I won't even make it within 5 hours or something. So I gave up. But there are some amazing genius people out there that have this certification. You have the certification, you got it. And ton of money. $200,000 is like nothing. $250, $400, $500,000. They're hired like that. Okay, you can look into it. But let me move on. Welcome. So, framework. We have been scratching the surface of automation so far, and haven't even talked about framework yet. You won't have anything like how you automate it when you go to your workplace, unfortunately, because your automation only works page by page, and you saw how redundant it is. You have to copy the same code to another class to automate another test case. Remember that? The set property, open the browser, all of that is extra work, can be eliminated. You just write code for your test case. That's it. How can we do that? Well, then we have to organize things. If we put things in certain places and we know where they are, then we can call and get it and not have to write the code every time. So there comes something called a framework. Okay. A framework is basically nothing but a set of guidelines. Okay. It's not rules. Nobody's gonna kill you if you don't follow the guidelines. Okay? You can break the guidelines. You can change it if you want to, as long as your boss approves. But if they don't, then you have to stay within those guidelines. Different framework have different guidelines. There are different types of framework. I will talk about that in another class because I need to show you one or two before I talk about what are the differences in the frameworks. Okay. Today I'm going to give you one framework. So it is a set of guidelines. It is also a template kind of, okay, or a platform. A platform for automation where you can write automation. The great thing about it is that it is designed in a way to eliminate redundancy. of code. Redundancy means duplicate or doing the same thing over and over. So it takes away that you don't have to write code over and over. If you see you're using over and over, the framework will give you a way to stop doing that. Okay? It increases efficiency. It brings in uniformity, meaning everybody knows what is going on. Okay? Sets a standard. Okay? So everybody has to follow that. Great for large or ever increasing test automation. Meaning, right now you're just writing 1 or 2 test cases. But as you keep adding and adding, it's going to get bigger and bigger, become like a monster. How are you going to control that monster? You got to have some organization. If you don't organize and control that monster, a monster is going to eat you. Right? So a framework will give you a way to handle it. You will know exactly where is what. You will be able to control it, keep it clean. Okay? So organization of code. It gives you a situation like that, right? That's pretty much it. I may be missing a thing or two, but does that make sense? Why this is needed? Is that enough? So instead of doing 1 page of code, everything in 1 page, we're gonna compartmentalize it and put it in different pages based on different categories, right? That's in a nutshell. So how are we gonna design? You are gonna come up with questions in the interview. What is an automation framework? Okay, and you have to, not in 1 word, you talk about these points. Okay, and it cannot be answered in 1 word. It is a lot. The framework is the project also. It is a project you've been working on, but organized with some design in mind. It has several components. Such as Maven, test runner could be JUnit or TestNG. It has some data structure. It could be JSON or Excel or randomly generated data. So all of those setups together, those are all components of an automation framework. And when they ask you what kind of framework you're working in, you're going to have to talk about all that. This answer is going to come towards my last classes. And I'm going to teach you something called a BDD framework, behavior driven development. And that's what the framework you're going to say that you're working on right now in the interview. Not what I'm going to show you right now. Okay? But you're going to point back to this saying, one of my previous jobs, this is the framework I had. Okay? This would be your first job, so to speak, like 5 years back. Towards my class number 11 and 12, you're going to say, that's what I'm working right now. Okay? So this is going to be like kind of like your resume going forward. And I will tell, as we go closer to that, you will have more answers to describe what kind of framework you're working on. It's going to tell them what you have in the project. So don't worry about it right now. This is all you need to know to move forward, okay? Let me explain the design. We know why it's needed. Now, how are we going to do it? Let me get this thing out. Paint. All right, so I can copy paste and give this to you later, so no worries. We are gonna have kind of like automation framework is kind of like a building. You walk into a building. Have you ever seen like they have a utility room and they have a room for the janitors? All the cleaning supplies are there. It's kind of like that. We're going to develop a framework or a project where we're going to have rooms for certain things. And when we need it, we go get it from that room. Instead of having everything in our one page, one room, we're going to have separate rooms. All right. What is the first room? Actually, funny thing, they still call that utility. And in short, they write it util. Okay, but they have a folder for it. Yeah. So the folder is util folder, and that is the room. Suppose. Okay. They put it in a folder called util or utility. In short, they write util. So you have a util folder, and in the util folder, you can have a lot of, imagine this is like a department. You walk into a building, here's a util department. First thing, they have that, and it's a must, they call it browser factory. Okay. Browser factory. This is a class. So I'm going to say class. This is the file. This is where your code is going to go for setting the property, opening the browser. Understand? Perhaps even going to the site. Okay? Now, sometimes some company, well, there are other complications that needs to be solved. So there could be another class. What if you had a dev environment, which you're going to have a test environment and a production environment? Production meaning customer can see it. What if your automated test cases need to test all three? Are you going to have 3 different projects? You don't want to. That will be too much to maintain. You got a test case in dev, now you got to get another project. No, you have it in one. But you want to test that same test case in 3 different environments. You may want to have a class that can handle logic like that. Then they have something called environment factory. Why factory? Because they like this word. Whoever first creates, so environment factory class. Okay. And you use your imagination. You can add whatever you want to add in here. This is your folder called util. In this folder or in this package, whatever class you need, add it. I just added one last week. Yesterday, actually. I saw this Indian guy who sent me a code and he was generating phone number with the method. Beautiful code. It was giving you random phone number. Okay. One method, just giving random phone number. So I'm like, I can use this code somewhere else. Why put it in a page class? Why don't I put it in somewhere that I can keep calling whenever I want it? So I talked to my team and I asked, hey, where do you want me to put this? Because you want to ask them. Somebody else is going to use it too. Where do you want to build, which department do you want to put that thing there so they can go and get it? You got to ask them. So they said, why don't you put it in a util class, utility util package, and give it a name called string util. So I created a class in this package called string util. And inside that class, I copy pasted his method, put it in there, modified it a little bit. He didn't have how many digits you want, so I parameterized how many digits, 9 or 10. 10 is going to give you that 1 in front of it. And if you say 9, or you don't say anything, or you put a different number, it's still going to give you, it's always going to give you 9. If you say 10, it's going to give you that 1. It will never fail. You can put in whatever number you want. If you put 10, it's going to give you that 1. So I've changed that, put it in here, and then called it. So I took his code, changed it up, changed his pull request code, and modified his test case, and did this design. And I'm going to have to tell him Monday that, hey, this is what I did. From now on, don't write extra methods for this. Just call it from this class. Okay. So that's what that is. And you can pile up list on this as you want to. I'm only gonna show you Browser Factory. But those things can be done and handled more complexities. Okay. All right. So that's gonna get your browser starting. Yeah. So what next? You got 2 things. One, if I go back to take a look at this site. And somebody was like, we got 2 things going on. We have pages, all right? And page has these things, elements, and we need to test them. So why don't we just have pages or page classes and put all these things there? Each page class is going to have all these elements organized. Okay? So if you understand Java classes are 2 things. What are they? Classes describe 2 things. What? Class is a blueprint of what? Hmm? Yes. More code, yes, but code does what? Actions. Yes, action is that one. Okay? Action. And what? Reaction is also that action. It falls under that action. But what else? Attributes. So each class can only do two things. One, it can tell you, imagine a Java class is like a person, right? Like yourself. You have certain attributes. Your hair color is different. Your haircut is different. You're wearing a different color clothes. You walk differently. You talk differently. Okay? Those are your attributes. And then you have something called behavior, or your what you do. One is who you are, and the other is what you do. Java class is the same thing. What you do is your actions. If I ask you, can you give me a glass of water? You'll probably go and give me a glass of water. That's your action. Your Java class can have those things. One is what's stored, which are variables. Okay. So when I say attribute, it's basically variables or constant numbers. Okay. And what can the class do as a human? These are what? Methods. Methods is what they can do. And variables or constants is what their characteristic is, their personality. It's not action. So attributes and actions, those are the two things it can do. Understand? This page, they looked at it and they're like, hey, this is his character. Full name, element. It doesn't do anything. It just sits there. Okay? All right, these are just elements. So why don't we, these are the attributes. Can you tell me what is their behavior? What action in this page? Keep saying it, you're getting there. Fill up, submit. Submit is the behavior. Okay? And actually fill up is as well. The action can be you fill out. So you can have two methods, two actions. One, fill out the add contact form. So you can have a method called fill out add contact form. And two, click on the submit button. These are two things. Give me a glass of water. Click on the submit button. These are two things this page can do. But the page has some character. What? Full name, company name, email, submit button. But if you make the button do something, that becomes a method. Understand? So we're going to have, by looking at that, they decided then we should have a page class for every single page. Add contact should be a page class. List contact should be a page class. This class has certain attributes. Here's a search field locator is an attribute. Search button locator attribute. Can you tell me what could be a method here? Or action? If I say action, it has to have a verb. Add what? I like that verb. Huh? Not in this one. Because you can't add a contact here, can you?
Can you click on the name and 558 and then go on it?
Yes. 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 So filter or search for whatever you want to put that in the parameter. You can write your method name like this. Search for open parenthesis, close parenthesis, what you want to put inside the parenthesis. Or search for name. That means you're passing name in. That could be a method. click on first user. That could be a method. Click on the first number. Actually, I was wrong. Who said add contact? I didn't see this. But yeah, but over here you would say click on add button, because you don't know what happens then. Then it actually takes you to that add contact page. Okay, but in this case you would have a method called click on add button or add contact, whatever that is. Yeah, add new contact button. Okay, what else? Come on, what else can it do?
View, delete, contact.
Give me the full method name or the action. Give me a glass of water.
Delete the contact.
Delete contact,
View contact.
or you could say delete contact for, stop there, open close parenthesis, in your parenthesis is gonna go whatever you pass. Okay, that for whatever you pass, or what, view the contact for whatever you want to pass. Okay, so there could be more, but does that make sense? So what we have is called page class. That's why all of these pages are going to have a class. So if you go into an automation framework, you're going to see another department, and that department I'm going to put it here for a reason. It's called page. Okay, it's going to have a page package. These are all packages, okay? Packages are departments, not classes. And you're going to have inside that page, you're going to have add contact class. You're going to have dashboard, yeah, and it's going to say dashboard page, sorry. Dashboard, this is how the naming convention is, dashboard page.
So you're gonna have a dashboard page for the test as well, right?
Yes, we're getting there. Then it's gonna have bank. You've done this one, bank and cash page. Okay. You're gonna have new account page. All of it, guys, all. Every single page the website has, you're going to have a class for it. Wouldn't that be wonderful? You know where to find things. Sometimes what they will do is they will organize it in a way that they're going to have modules. They're going to have just exactly same as this menu. They're going to have the CRM folder. Inside the CRM folder, they're going to have add contact page class, list contact page class. That way you can easily find it. If they don't have it done that way, you go and change it. Make it easy. Often they're kind of lazy and they may kind of miss on it. All right? Any question about this?
It can be hundreds classes in the page.
Yes, and it doesn't matter how many. Okay, so list contact page class. I don't know why that came out blank. I didn't intentionally do it. All right. Then you have one last thing, and that is, well, we got all the page stuff, but we want to have our test cases. Where are we going to put our test cases? Let's come up with another package called test package. And this is called, yeah, test package. Okay. So let's put our test cases here. Well, how are we gonna organize our test classes? We got test cases for login, we got test cases for dashboard, we got test cases for all these pages. We got test cases for all these pages? Well, then why don't we just have test classes for all these pages? If I have a test case that test add contact page, why don't I have a class for a test case for that page? Wouldn't that be easier to organize things? Then let's just have a add contact test class to test, have an automation for testing. Oops, not that one. That. Then let me do the same thing for dashboard. Then I need to have a class dashboard test class. If I have a automation need to test the dashboard page, then let me put it in the dashboard test class, who's going to use attributes and methods that are in dashboard page. Same thing keeps on going.
So we're going to call the add contact on the page class, right? From the test page or page.
Good question. Where does the arrow go?
Oh.
Yeah, so you are here and your test cases are here and you call the page class to do something for you. All right? Page is the guy who talks to the page. That's it. It has two things. What? Attributes and action or behavior. What are the attributes? Yeah, I mean, but in a nutshell, what? You saw our linear programming, right? We did our code. Which part of the code is going to be the attributes for those page classes? Elements. Element library is the characteristics or attributes. Okay?
Page package.
In the page classes. Huh?
The methods also separate that can come in the page.
Absolutely.
The element.
But the methods are going to be what? The second part of
Action.
actions. So elements and methods are going to be in that page class. But if you want to have fancy logic, all that logic is going to go in the test class. If you want to have a for loop, you want to make some decisions, assertions, all of these things are going to be in this test classes. These page classes are just going to be elements and methods. Methods to get the elements. Methods to do something with those elements. Okay?
So maybe can't be
Methods you're going to call from. All you're going to do in the test package, test classes, you're going to call it. You're not going to create methods. You call methods. All your methods are going to be in page classes that you're going to call. Sometimes you may need to create a method inside the test class. If you do that, you might want to take that out and put it in the utility so that you can use it again and again. Something like this. Is data matching? Could be a method. What does that mean? That means that method you just created, you put in two data, expected and actual. You pass it, it's going to do a loop, go through the list, check it. If it's matching, it was going to return true. If it's not matching, it's going to return false. So if you need a method like that, and you see you have the need to put it in here or use it, you might want to just create a class in utility so everybody else can call that method. Does that make sense? Why? No. Yeah, but kind of, sort of, but there's more code to that. I'll get to that later. Okay? Any question about this setup? Yes.
What is the environment factory?
Environment factory is if you have test environment, dev environment, and production environment, which you're going to see. Whenever developers write a code, it goes into dev environment. Dev environment is their playground. They're going to experiment with their code, run the whole website with their code changes and see if they broke something, or if is it working, or they need to demo it to the executives. They just quickly wrote the code, put it up on the dev environment, go demo it to the executive. Do you like it? They're like, yeah, we'd like it, but change it here. They're going to go back and change it again. A lot of failures, a lot of breaking things going on in dev environment. When the dev is clean and everybody's happy to go, they take that code, move it to the test environment, right? Your QA code automation.
This is our business.
Oh. But primarily, you want to play in test environment. Test environment can be called QA environment. That's why they call it QA, because that's where you play mostly. It can also be called staging environment. Different companies have different names for it. Means the same thing. Understand? Why is that very important? Because that's the last step before it goes to the customer. From test environment goes to production. So you want to make sure everything is super nice and beautiful in test before you move that to the customer. From dev to QA, when they move the code, if there are some failures, it's still okay. But from QA to production, if there is some failure and you let it go without discussing with your project lead, it happened to me that I thought I found the bug and I was like, this is not a big deal. Then the project lead came back later on and said, no, this is going to create a major confusion. Bless you. And I should have asked the project lead's opinion. I should never make that decision myself. And he asked us to restart. So we pulled the code back to the original version and reset it. So your code is capable of actually testing all environments. Now, you can have 3 different projects. One is only going to test that environment. Or you can have one project and have an environment factory class with some logic arguments with an if statement, for example. If I say dev environment, take this URL and test it here. Make sense? If I say test environment, don't take this URL, take this one. Yeah, QA URL and test that right there, and production there. So I'm just saying in a simple way, but there's more complication to it. And when you go to a workplace, you might discover those methods that are there, and you can discover how it's done. We're not going to do it in this class. Okay, that's that. Other questions? This whole thing, okay, this whole setup, because it looks at a page and page has objects. These are called objects. Okay, or page is an object, because each page class, a class is an object, isn't it? Based on the page name, You created a add contact test, add contact class, dashboard test, dashboard class. Page has become an object in this framework. Yes? That's why they wanted to call this whole thing a page object model. Okay, this whole setup or style, page object model. Not it is, if you abbreviate it, it is POM, right? But that's not the same thing as POM file. Has no relationship. Okay? Question? Two things don't mix at all. The POM file, what does POM file POM stand for? Project object model. And page object model, not the same thing. Project object model is something for Maven. Maven has a blueprint, kind of like architects go in and build a house. They have a blueprint first. They design it and then go in and build it. That's that POM file for your project. Maven uses that. That's Maven's style. Has nothing to do with page object model that's in here. That means you can have POM file and not follow this style, then you don't have a page object model style. You have a different style. There could be other styles. I haven't seen other styles yet. Okay, but that could be. Most people use page object for websites, for UI testing. If it's a database testing or some other backend testing, then you don't have a reason for using page object. Does that make sense? Only UIs use page object model. There is another thing you can do, because all these guys may have some methods. Can you tell me one method that I can use for all of these classes that doesn't relate to actually these pages specifically? Login, logout.
Launching of the Chrome.
Which we have it here, Browser Factory. Yeah. What are other things that we have used so far? Quit and close. Yes. We can do that. What else? We can also put it in here. Okay. We can have a class in util for those things and call it from here. Okay. So again, understand that everything starts from the test class, and you actually call from here. Understand? One thing you can do is, if you have some code that you want to use here but you don't want to call, you don't want to call the name of the class. Like, if you were to call a method inside Browser Factory, how would you call it if it's a static method?
Class name and the method name.
Dot is very important that you say that. And in the interview too, you gotta say dot, and they will know what you're talking about. Don't say dot, you memorized it. So class name dot, method name. But what if you don't want to keep on calling class name, but you want that method in here or yes, yes, exactly. That's what I was looking for. You can actually have another class, okay, and you can call that test base. All right, and all of these classes can extend to this class. If it extends, you never have to call the class name. You just call the methods and it's going to recognize it. Understand? Same thing you can do here. Wait for element. Remember that? Don't we do the wait for? You can put explicit wait in here. This is called, you can say page base. Or typically they say base page. And you can extend all these to this guy. And then you don't have to call the name of the method. That's the design. It was a handful or mouthful. Before we start writing codes and build this, any questions about this? Yeah. Base page is nothing but a same Java class like add contact, dashboard page, new account page. But only difference is this becomes a father page for all these children. If you go into add contact class and say extends base page, then you are actually making this a child class and this becomes a parent class.
I understand.
Yeah.
We were talking about explicit wait.
So if you put an explicit wait in here in a method, remember everything has to be now in a method. And give it a name like wait for element. That's it. And you put that explicit wait in that base page, you can call wait for element in here without saying base page dot wait for element. You just have to say wait for element and he is going to recognize it because his father has that method. He inherited those method names.
So usually we do page package extends to base page and the test base class extends to basically test package extends to test base class, right? Because we cannot extend at the same point to class.
Right.
We can extend that.
Only one father.
Only one.
So add contact, these all test classes, you can extend it to test base.
Right.
And all these classes you can extend to base page. And then these two classes can extend another father. But do you see, I could have another father for these two, and these two could extend another class, and then have some methods there that both of these can share. What if I had another class, no methods here, no methods here, all methods in that grandfather class? Will all of these get it? Yeah. Every one of those classes will inherit it. Okay? However way you want to design it, it's up to you. And Java gives you the power to do that. We're not going to be using this too much in this class because we're not going to have all that time. Okay? But when you go to a framework and you want to design it and you want to put it right there for ease of access, do it. You might even find it there already. Do you think the name is going to be exactly same? Test base? May or may not. They may have a different name. How can you recognize if there is a page like that who's a father page?
You can recognize by word extend?
Correct. If you look at the class name and if it says extends, then you know what? It has a father. If you press and hold control and click on the father's name, it will take you to the father class. How do you know if the father has another father? Then that class is gonna have extends someone else. Okay, and then you can keep on going to the root and see how they designed it. All right. Any other questions before we take a break and come back and write the framework? Your choice. Your choice. I'm probably gonna try to put it in here. Explicit way. Email? I haven't been checking GroupMe, sorry. Yeah. Right. What did you send me?
The long term, you saw it in my laptop.
Oh yes. I'll give you my email and if you can email me because I'm not following the GroupMe much. But I need that. That's really good.
Most of the time, we work in a test package, right? Right now, test.
Mm-hmm.
And we just in the test package call all the methods.
Yes. Okay. But you're also going to be working in page classes. Because suppose when you go in to a company and let's say you went to this page, they just added a feature called add new content. Your executive team saw that, hey, why don't we put this button here? If someone accidentally came to this page and they wanted to add a new contact because they don't see their contact name here and they don't know that they have to go back to this page, let's put a add new contact in here so they can just click here and start typing in the contact information. Does that make sense? So this is a new feature they just added. Your automation now, you have to go in this add contact page. Add contact page. The page is already there. Elements are already there. But which element is not there? Because it was never there. So you have to create a web element for this add new contact button. Make sense? On that element library that's already there, you just go down one line, you add your element library. One element. And you have to add one more thing. What? Correct. Attribute, action. Go hand in hand. You added an element, add new contact. You have to add a method called click on, come on, add new contact. Click on add new contact. A cup of coffee, attribute. Get me a cup of coffee is an action. You gotta do two things. Okay? Always gonna have two things. Make sense? So you're gonna go in and you add that one method and you add a web element, you're done. And in your test case, you come in and in here, in this add contact test, you call the method, click on. Yeah. From the test case, you never touch element. You only interact with what? Not the attribute, action, the method. You only call method. Make sense? You go first.
In practice, we do web element or by.
Doesn't matter. Different frameworks have different styles. Okay.
This is an example of abstraction.
Did you say the word correctly?
Abstraction.
Abstraction.
Abstract because we make the abstract class without the methods, right? We
So
just
we're
give
not seeing
the
the element, but these functionality.
Yes. Your elements are going to become private. Nobody can mess with that. Okay? And it's going to be private, static, final. Those are the keywords you're going to put in. Why? Final, nobody can edit or call, nothing. It only belongs to the page and is hidden, secret to the page, kind of sort of abstract. You want to take that abstraction word to a fancier, more sophisticated way, then you can create a class with their method names and not describe anything in it at all. And that's going to become an interface. Yeah. Somebody wants to use that. Interface is just a style. And you decided, I want to create a class with method names and this many methods. You like it, you take it all. You don't like it, you hit the door. You can use, pick or choose what you want. If you want to use my interface or the class, which is in that case, it becomes interface, you have to use every method that I have in. All the method names. You can't change the method name. Have to use the same method name because that's my style. Okay? And then how you want to put what that method does is up to you. That's the philosophy of interface. Okay? And abstraction, kind of, sort of. But yeah. What else?
So is this the way page object model followed by all the companies or some companies follow it the correct way?
Most companies use page object model for UI testing.
And in the same way.
In the same way. Because it's so much easier to maintain and manage and things, organize things. Even BDD framework uses page object model, so you're going to see that coming forward.
So there are frameworks like TDD and BDD. So page object model, is it a framework? It's a kind of hybrid. Hybrid is different.
When you get to TDD, okay, TDD versus BDD is a concept that's more like web, that's more in the developmental level. Okay.
So this page object model is a framework, we call it?
This is an automation framework. When we get to automation framework, then it's there's more to it. I don't think I can explain it right now because then it's going to take me 30 minutes. Okay.
But we call it, in short, we call it as a framework.
Yes. For now, just understand that this is an automation framework. What kind? Don't go there yet. Okay? This is just an automation framework. What style? Page object model style. Page object model is not a framework.
Yeah, that's what my question.
It's not a framework. It's what?
The style.
It's a style. A design style. Not a type of framework. There are different types of framework, and BDD versus TDD is something else I want to get to it another day. But I want to show you a couple of frameworks first, then take you to that class and explain what are the differences. Okay?
So this is a style.
This is a framework. If you ask me what kind of framework, it is a hybrid framework, but I don't want to explain hybrid framework today.
Hybrid is a combination of data-driven and keyword-driven, right?
Correct, but I don't want to go there today. I don't want to cloud your mind.
Yeah, okay.
So go take a 10 minutes break and we're going to build this design.
We use it with the TestNG only, this style, or this framework.
You can use TestNG or anything. Hey guys, let's get started. But before we get started, I have a student, Saida. She shared something. It's amazing, actually. I've never encountered something like that. But I do know that a project can be built from the command line. You know that?
Yeah.
You don't even have to have a UI. You don't need Eclipse. Anything. You open up the command line and you build a Maven project from that if you have Maven installed. And developers, they do it that way. They also run their test cases. You can write a test case also, all that logic through command line. And you can run your automation through command line. You don't need IntelliJ or Eclipse at all. Okay? And that is the very old way of doing things, which a lot of the developers, they learn it because they go through university, colleges, and they teach those things. So you may encounter that. Beauty of it is there are things they make it so easy. Yes, it's a black screen, but you just type command and it gives it to you. So which Saida is going to show you, there's something that she discovered, which I'm sure developers know. I didn't know. I'm going to make her the presenter and she's going to share that with you. So you go through that hard way to figure things out. It's a good thing, right? It's a very good thing. So I may have to.
Yourself.
Okay.
And the online folks will be listening to your computer. And
Okay.
I don't think I yeah, this will echo if I open this up. So you can increase your computer volume. And if they have any questions, they will ask you in your platform. Go ahead and you can explain them.
Hi, this is Saida. Can you hear me? Everyone online?
Yes.
Okay, so this is for people who have Mac. Mac laptop. Yeah. Mac people have hard time installing softwares and everything. So I discovered this on Google, Homebrew. It's really wonderful. You might have it on, if you search on Google for Windows, you might find it over there. But when you install Homebrew from using this link, you just install it in your terminal. So you go to your terminal and install it here. You go to your desktop and then copy and paste it here. So I can send you a link, a YouTube link through GroupMe where you can install it. From there, you can either have two Java softwares, Java 8 or Java 13 or whatever the new is, and you can ask Brew to cascade. You can interchange with Java codes, Java programs, versions. And I'm just gonna show you about the Git Bash. So what we need to do is first go to the file. Where we want to go? You go over here to the top, go to Go and go to your computer, then your C drive, users, then your home and your workplace where you kept your Eclipse. It's the same as Windows. What we need to do is open it in a terminal, right click and then open in new terminal. And here we just initialize it, git initialize it. And then we do the same codes, git status. Then since this branch has an original master, so I won't be able to push it. I could push it, but I cannot pull it from a new branch, a repository. So git add. But with git add, I have to tell you that with Windows, you can use git add and dot. But for Mac, you actually have to. Let me just try using this and then give you a good example. Git init, git status. So it's gonna show me. So it says that it does have a branch, but I can add this. So git add, I actually have to copy each and paste it. Control C and Command C and Command V, and it's gonna add it for me, and I have to do it individually for each one of them.
Really?
Yes.
You can't do git.
No.
Okay, how about git add dash all?
Dash all. No, it's not allowing me.
Oh, that's a pain.
Maybe saying that.
There
Git
has to be
add
some other way.
Star.
Oh, I have to use 2 dashes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's cool.
There has to be a way because
Yeah.
The software engineers they make things easier.
Yeah.
Just research that. Can I recap it and move on? Cause
Yes, I'm
I'll
done.
take 2 hours.
I'm done.
But this is beautiful stuff. So 2 things. One, for Mac, it is Git Bash, but it's called Terminal. Okay. And second, what she showed is that homebrew thing. If you download that or install that, then you can just say brew, install, Git Bash, it will install. From where, how, you don't have to worry about all that. It will do it for you. Then probably it has the capability of uninstalling your unnecessary version of Java and reinstalling the necessary version of Java. With that just command, you having to go to other websites. I'm going to explore that. I'm going to see if I can do all of these using brew and install and stuff instead of having these prerequisites and then look at this. I have these files you have to download. So if we can avoid that, that would be wonderful. All right. Moving on. You can unmute or mute. Sorry, no problem. Online folks, can you hear me? Online people? All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and build the project, okay? All the notes for you to build a project is in this page. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to use this page to build a project. I'm going to come back and forth, follow this guideline, and if I see some mistakes I made in this guideline, we'll change it at that time. The project is also in this Git URL. So you can use this URL and clone it. Understand? Already there. You don't have to copy this code. But the code is also displayed in here. I think you can just go to this URL and see the code. I just go in here. Oops. Probably expired. No, it didn't take. Okay. There. See that source folder? Here's a main test, and there's your page class, utility. Here's add contact page. I don't have much code in there, but you understand the idea? This, you can clone it in your computer and you can start working on it. Okay. So, and that's the same thing I displayed in here with the UI. That's all there is to it. Let's go build it. So opening up Eclipse. Git instruction is also provided in here on that same page. Your homework while that's loading is going to be to create a Maven project with page object model. Just build one from scratch if you can. That will be the best way for you to remember how to do it. Keep the video on the side, look at these notes on the side, and see if you can build one from scratch. Your homework is going to be, you have probably done this, add new account, but you haven't done it in a framework. Yeah. So this is the homework due next week. So you have the whole week to work on it. You build a framework, okay? And inside that framework, you automate this test case. And if you can do this much, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, you can do that. Okay. If you can figure all that out, how to do it in a framework, then that's it. And with that, you are an automation engineer. If you go to this part and able to do it in a framework, you're ready to start working for a company next day. So we're going to build a Maven project, same way that we did before, no difference. Step says create a Maven project with group ID and artifact, import dependencies, whatever you want. We're going to take Java and Java Selenium testng. Let me close all this. Right click in this open space. Don't follow me because I may be going fast. I won't slow down. Watch and ask questions. But if you have to, you're feel jittery, do it, but pause to understand too. You go in and create a project, Maven project, next, nothing new, next, same workspace, unless you want to change it for any reason. No difference, quick start, still same, next.
So from scratch.
Yeah. What is it?
Do from scratch from creating the project.
Yeah, from like zero, from nothing. It's like scratch. You have nothing, you create from zero, and that's how you would do it. So you would have a different name. You can have the same group ID, com.textfiles. I'll say QA. You can keep repeating this group ID. Okay? Totally okay. You can't keep repeating artifact, has to be unique. So we're just gonna say automation underscore framework. Right? Or I could say session 7, whatever that is. I'll just say automation framework and hit finish. We got something here. Same. Is it taking time? Yeah. See? Took a little time for all that to come in. And now mostly copy paste. This is my older project. I go in here, take the driver. So just right click, copy, click on the project name, right click, and paste. It'll show up right here. Double check, it's there. POM file, don't copy that, but look into the POM file. And here's the POM file. We got the testng. We got Selenium Java, Selenium Server. Let's take all of that. Copy from right underneath the dependencies. Copy from here all the way down to here. And go into your project POM file. And paste it on top of this. All right. Did I miss anything else? You know that Maven gives you this package, which you don't need. So delete that. You know, Maven also gives you this package under source test. You don't need. Delete that. Anything else? With regard to the driver. So far, this is what we learned, right? How to do a framework. And then we added some classes and packages and started working. But now we understood that we got to have some organization. We need to have 3 different packages: util, test package, and page package. Okay? These 2 packages, I like to put it in the same folder. Util and page under one folder, and test under test folder. Okay, here's why. It's kind of finicky. They only gave me 2 options to put my stuff. Never touch these. So all your code goes into these 2. How you want to do it is up to you. So how you want to organize, that's your choice. But because this says source test, wouldn't it be nice to just keep the test packages in here? So you right click, new, create a package, give it a package name, test package, all lowercase, and say finish, and you got a test package. Okay, that's our test package that we just talked about in the framework. Okay, that's this test package. Now we have left with utility package, and we got page package. Where are we gonna put it? It doesn't look good if I put the utility package under the test. We want to keep this clean. If it says test folder, it's just gonna have test stuff. Make sense? So that leaves me with main. Main doesn't say anything about page, anything about anything. So why don't I put everything else in here? That means I have 2 more packages that I need to put in. One is a page package. It's okay.
We didn't build or Maven build. We just put the required after adding dependencies.
Yes.
Because the test is created folder is not coming.
Okay. Let me see. Let me do this first, and then we'll troubleshoot. So we got the page, and we also have util package. We don't want to put it in the test package. Test is test. So left with main. Right click and put the utility package also in here. Util. Finish. And you have those 2. If you need more, you keep putting it more right here. But you don't touch this anymore. Is it gonna work if you do it differently? Yeah. Is it gonna be logically sound? No. Not gonna look very nice.
You can add the page.
Now we're getting into pages. These are packages. So are we clear about packages? Okay. Each package is gonna have pages. So your question, base page, you can have a test base page inside this package, and you can have a base page into this. For pages, if you want to have a base page, you can put it in here too. Okay, and then you can link those 2 with another page to somewhere else. That's totally possible. So now, very first thing, you want to start with utility package. Why? Because when we have an automation, we need to do what? We need the browser to open first. All right. That is the very first thing we do. So that's what we're going to work on the first. We're going to create a class called Browser Factory. Why is it named like that? Somebody like it. Maybe they worked in the factory before and got promoted to an automation engineer, so they like it. We're not going to break that style, because you'll see a lot of, that's how they name it. I was surprised. Nobody wanted to change anything. So you right click on that util packet, you go to new and create a class just like you did in Java class. You go in here and name it Browser Factory. Okay, that's it. Notice that when you create a class, class name is always Pascal case. And you have this Browser Factory class in here. Okay? Now, let's put some code in here. What is our mission for this class to do? Start the browser. Very good. That's the method we want. I like that name. Start the browser. All right. So public void. Okay. I could do it this way, or reverse engineering. I could call the method and have Java created in here. The stub. What do you prefer? Java do it, reverse? Okay. Then if you want to do reverse engineering, then you just leave this page, don't touch it. Okay? And you call it from a different class, and then it's going to create a stub. But you know what? There is a reason I shouldn't be doing that right now. Some other examples, but yeah. Let me just write this. First thing, you want to create a global variable for WebDriver. Okay. You're going to have a method, public void, but you may have more methods that may use WebDriver. Okay. So instead of creating WebDriver inside the method, you create a type, WebDriver, driver. Okay. And you want to make this static, I believe. Let me double check.
Yes, sir.
Right? Yeah. You want to make it static, meaning no one can recreate it. Okay, and you can make it private too, but I don't want to go there. So static WebDriver driver, you created a type. Hover over. You know what? I'm sorry. I did not build it. Let me delete this first. That's why you interrupted me.
No, we interrupted.
Yeah. I knew I was forgetting something. That's what I was like asking. What was I forgetting?
And that's what she pointed to me, then I pointed to you, but you were in the middle of something.
Okay, sorry about that. So we have done all this frame. This is still okay. It's not going to cause any issues. We have not brought in all the dependencies, so we need to go in and say run as and Maven build, and in here we need to say clean install and run, and let it do its thing. And you want to see a build success. That means all the dependencies, all the jar files just came in. So all the codes you should be able to call.
But testng folder is not a sprint, that's fine.
What is it? Testng?
Testng folder.
Not yet, because you have not created a at test.
Oh.
When you bring in that annotation, then it's going to ask you to create. Yeah, and then that's when we're going to need it. Right? So let's go in now and create a browser factory again. Very quickly. Class browser. In this browser factory, we are going to create a static WebDriver. You did not assign anything. Hover over. Now it's going to understand what WebDriver is because you imported those libraries. All the other codes are there that it recognizes. You create a public static. Why static? Because you don't want to create an object for browser factory. You just want to say browser factory dot and whatever the method is. Easier, one line. So public static and give it a name. What was that? Start browser. These are not grammar guys, so they often leave out the in and stuff like that. So you have this start browser. This method also needs to return a driver. So you want to give WebDriver is what's going to be returned. All right. So whenever you call start browser, it will return, it will start the browser, and also driver is going to go and start the browser and come back to you, asking you, what else can I do for you? All right. So the method is going to get the driver, send the driver. Driver is going to start the browser. He's going to drive back to you, meaning return to you, and ask you, what next? Kind of like. So you have to have a return statement, right? That means it's going to have to return driver. Yes? So far, so good. No errors. So that will be the last thing he's going to return at the very end. Whatever he does, he will do it and return at the end. Now, what is he going to do? Well, first thing, what do we do? Set property, right? What kind of Chrome we're going to do and stuff like that. We set property. So all that, let's do it here. So system dot set property, and key is all lowercase WebDriver dot Chrome dot driver. This is something you have to kind of memorize. And this is where we put in where the driver is, the path of it. Right click, properties, and we take from this driver exe. You've done this before. So go in here, within double quotes, put a dot and then copy that, and then semicolon to finish. Good deal. Now we went in and give this driver his superpowers. He is a human being right now. He doesn't have the driver's license. Okay, but you can give him the license. Driver equals new Chrome driver, and you gave him Chrome driver license. Hover over, import. So far so good? You know that when you give him the license, that license comes with a constructor. He also ends up opening the browser when you, okay? Yeah, it's like you gave him the license, he felt a little dizzy, and He didn't know what he was doing. He just opened up the browser. Okay. So, and then you can keep asking him whatever else you want to do. At this time, you can also say, hey driver, while you open up the browser, can you manage timeout implicitly wait also? Maybe like 10 seconds. You can do that. Can you ask him to maximize the screen? You can do that. Can you ask him to delete the cookies? You can do that. Not gonna do it right now, but you get it? Okay. That's all. But if you notice, I'm only testing one website. I'm only going to TechBIOS. Why don't I just tell him to open up TechBIOS site 2? And you can do that here. Driver dot what? Get. And in here, you paste TechBIOS website or your company website. You could also log in each time you log in, right? You can also put the code here, but you shouldn't. Why? Because there should be a login test and login page. And that login page class should handle those elements and things. Because if you try to log in right now, you're going to have to mess with those elements, don't you? But don't we have a different room for elements? That's what we're going to do. Don't want to mess up things. This is it. Any questions about this code? Simple, logical. Clean up these extra lines. Control Shift F O will align if you didn't write it in a nice alignment. Done. All we have to do is call start browser. Good deal? Now, the very first thing that you have to do after you have done this is you have to go through this login page. So your first 2 classes you're going to create what? What 2 classes? So what are the 2 class names? That's element. What is this page? Login. You're going to have a login page class and one more class. If you want to add contact, but you have to log in through it, right? So you're going to have a test case. You should have a test case for login page as well. So you're going to have 2 classes. 1 login page class and 2 login test class. Okay. Then you can have more classes for other pages. But very first thing is login. So that's what we're going to do. We go in here and in this page, and this is, by the way, your exam, one of the last exams that you will do before you go for jobs, and they will recommend you for jobs when you do that. So you will have to create these things. But it's a take-home exam, an open book. You'll get to use everything you have. So in this page package, I'm going to put in what? Login page. Login page class. Got it? And because I have a login page, page object model says I also have to have a login test class. Each page is going to have a page class and a test class. So here I'm going to have a new class. I'm going to have a login test class. See that? And that. Where is my test case going to go? In login test. Where are the elements and methods going to go? In the login page. Which one do you want to work on first? Yeah, or this, your choice. There is no a different style. Okay, I want to work with this one first because you know why? I want to test my browser factory to see if it's still working. If it's working, I haven't tested anything, right? I don't want to put more code in here and not know why it's not working. That would be a mess. I want to first make sure it works. So I go in my login test and create some sort of test. Test is nothing but a method. Public void. Let's create a test for valid user should be able to log in. Okay, that's my first method, first test case. I have to put the same thing that we did before, remember? At the rate, what? Test. Okay. Will I have more test cases in this page or just one? Does each page have one test case? Look at this website.
Invalid.
Invalid login. What about forgot password? Yeah, validate forgot password. So if you forgot password, you also do an automation for that. You go through those steps, and you go to the email. We have an automation for that. You go to check the email. Email will send you a link. You click on that link, come back, change the password there, and then log in with that new password and see if it's working. There is a negative test for that too. You put in a mismatched password. When they ask you for change password, remember they have like type your password, retype the password, right? So you put in a one password and you retype a different password. Hit submit and see what it tells you. That's a negative testing. Understand? So there could be more test cases you can imagine in one class. Then shouldn't I have a WebDriver declaration as a global variable so that all these methods understand it? Okay. So just wanna see how I did this. Same. This is you don't have to make it static or anything. Just call it WebDriver driver. Okay. So let's make that in here. WebDriver driver. So everybody knows what that is also imported. All right, in this test, hover over, nothing different. If you hover over, first thing you want to do, add TestNG library if you haven't done it. And make sure you have that. If you don't have the TestNG plugin, it's not going to work. You're going to have that plugin. Hover over. Now import test. It's going to import that test annotation, and everybody's happy. Right? You're ready to work now. You can now say browser factory and if you put a dot, guess what? It tells you what it can do. And this is something you created. The start browser method. If I hit that, enter, it will do it for you. Okay? So let's go ahead and run it up to this point. So right click, run as, and you should see this TestNG come up. So let's run. Crossing fingers. If it doesn't work, you get a break. I have to figure out how to but browser open, right? So it's working. Do you remember what it returns?
Driver.
It returns driver. Am I doing anything with it, with this code? Or is it just appearing here and disappearing? This whole code, this much calling, started up the browser and returned the driver, but you never stored it anywhere in this page, did you? No. So he came, he was there, and vanished. But you gotta store it. Store him for this class. So what you have to do is, you have created this guy. He doesn't know what this browser factory driver guy. But you created a room for him. If you bring it in here and say equal, you are actually now taking this guy and putting him in this room. Now this class, this driver will become the same powerful driver that got his driver's license in the browser factory class in this method. Does that make sense? So this whole thing returned that driver with the license. You have declared the driver here, but he doesn't have a license. This method has, and watch this, if I press Control and hover over, it becomes blue, becomes a link. And if I control and click on it, it's going to take me to this method. Here's that driver's license this driver got, and we return that driver with the license. And in this login test, this whole method, this part, is returning that driver with the license. And you clone him with this driver that you have for this class. Now you have stored it. Now you can start calling things in here too. Driver dot, it's going to give you that. But if you did not have this, and you say driver dot, I didn't hit Control S. I don't know if why it's still working. Okay, but it's not supposed to.
So we, in this case, we can have to check that driver.
You have to. Maybe it's working right now, but eventually when you run a test case, you're going to see some failure, and you'll be like, why? Scratching your head and not be able to figure out why. Okay, just there is a reason why it's done this way. And I've played with some other ways it doesn't work. Okay. So now we have this guy and everything. It's working. Let's go to the page class. And in this login page, we close this guys out. Let's design the page. Ask me to save. I just want to briefly look at. Also notice WebDriver driver as a main. Hover over import. Here's one thing you have to have. Each page class is going to have a constructor. What is a constructor? It does what? If interview question, what is a constructor? Executed every time you
Create an object.
instantiate the object or create an object. That's the first thing. Then you can say more why you need it and stuff. So it has to have public same name, and I'll explain to you why you do that. in a second. Just want to make sure that I'm not making any mistake. Every time you call, okay.
You don't have to go.
Let me come back to it in a little bit, okay? In a little bit. This will make more sense a little bit later. We have to set some elements. So, library of elements. And then you're going to have methods. Two things. To interact with the elements. Okay? Let's start with the element first. 3 ways. I'm going to teach you a new way of doing elements. You have learned something called web element. Yes? And then you gave it a name. Username field locator. So, yes, you're right. Username field element. Okay? And then you said what? Dot find element. Okay. Problem is, even though this driver here is giving you this dot and find element and buy and stuff, this driver does not have that license. So when you run your test case, it kind of sort of fails, and it gives you a weird reason why it failed. Right? That's why this does not seem to work. But I really like this. Really like it. Unfortunately, it doesn't. The other option is you also learned something called what? By. And then you gave it the name password. Let's say password field locator. And then you said drive. You cannot say driver in here anymore, right? By dot let's say ID, whatever that is. Okay. You found some ID and you finished that there. Okay. This will work. I found that for some reason this also doesn't work in this framework. I played with it, couldn't figure it out. I don't particularly like this framework, but it's part of the curriculum I have to teach you, and there are some companies that use it. Okay, and you have to also interview questions may come out of it, and you're gonna explain that you have experience with this kinds of framework, because this is the TestNG framework, hybrid and all that. We'll talk more about it. Unfortunately, I have to teach you something that's ridiculously, it looks horrible. Okay, just deal with it. But it works, and it does work like web element, meaning you can just take that name and say click or send keys. You don't have to say driver and all that. Okay, how? So I'm going to comment this out right now.
So this only works in Linux programming.
No, it also works in other frameworks, but just not in this framework. In BDD, I'll be using these by locator. So how does it look like? Even me, I have to kind of look at it every now and then because it's so ridiculous that I keep forgetting. There's a page class. Yeah, it starts kind of like this. So, and you don't have to memorize it. Once you use it, just keep copy pasting. Right? So at the rate, you have to use something called find by. It has two parts. One is you have to write how and then say equal to, and then you have to do a capital how class. That's a class. And if you put a dot, it will give you an ID option or an XPath or one of those 7 things. Link text, that's going to go into how dot. And then you put a comma instead of ID dot, and then you're putting the username or whatever the value is in here. You just say using equal to, and then you put in whatever the value is. If it's an ID, you put it in. If it's XPath, you put it in. Okay? You close the bracket, then you call it web element, and then you give it a name. And you close it with a semicolon. Okay? Ugly, I know. Deal with it. So let's do that. At the rate, find by, open parenthesis in here. First one probably will not give you hints because it needs to import something, and then it will tell you, give you hints. So what do I use first? Call how. So it's a find by how equals. This is where you put capital H and then put a dot. See, nothing came up because it's still, we did not import things. So, and let's go with ID. Let's see. Here's the element I want. I want 3 elements, 1, 2, and 3 for now. Right click, inspect, and ID is username. So we're going to use ID. How dot ID has to be all caps for now, comma. You know, sometimes I saw that if I take this bracket off and put a dot, it does give me the option. For some reason, it doesn't like that extra bracket. I hate it, but deal with it. Now you can do that. How dot ID, class, name, whatever you want. Go with ID. And then you put a comma and say using, lowercase, equal, in quotation, you put in the value of whatever you chose. Now close the bracket. I also like to have it in one line, but unfortunately, when you align it, this web element will come down. Web element, and then let's give it a name. Username. Oh, by the way, it's very finicky about how you write the username too. It has to be in Pascal case. User name field locator. I want to try the other way too. See, that might work. I actually had a tough time working with it. So do that, hover over, import find by. Sometimes you may have to import how or other things. Just import it. It's working just fine. How do you check? That's still not going to work. Dot. See, nothing comes up. Let's see if that works. So if it's an insider method, it works. let me change that to our Java style. Username field locator, field element. We're just gonna leave it as username field shortcut. Works. Okay, so we'll use this format. Underscore, and then let's say send keys. Send keys, whatever, whatnot. Okay. Questions so far? Okay. Let me delete this. Under our library of elements, we got this, and see what happens if I hit Control Shift F. It brought this piece to the bottom. I hate that too. But unfortunately, we have to deal with it. How many more elements I need?
2 more.
2 more. So just what you do now is easy. Copy paste. Take that, paste it here. And paste it again. Change the name, password, and submit. With me so far? Did I lose anybody? Online folks, you all okay? All right. Now, what can this page do? We got the attributes. This is the characteristics of the page. What can you do here? What is the action? So you can have 2 methods. One, fill in the username and password, and then say click on sign in button. You can have 1 method with all of that, say log in, and that's gonna take username, password, and sign in. You can have 3 methods. Enter username, enter password, click on sign in button. What's the best approach? Some say 1, some say break it down into smaller methods. Why? Argument is, my supervisor says, Java, 2 rules. What are the 2 rules? Make methods small, rule number 1, and rule number 2, make them even smaller. Why? He says, because if when your thing is gonna fail and you're gonna debug, if you have 3 things in 1 method, you don't know, it's just gonna tell you that method failed. But you don't know if it failed for username, if it failed for password, or did it fail for sign in button. But if you had 3 different methods and sign in button method failed, then you know what happened. Make sense? Your debug becomes easier. So we're gonna have 3 different methods. With me? Okay. So in here, we're gonna break it down. So public void. First method is enter username. You don't want to hard code username in here. Okay? You want method to take username. So over here, you say string username. Understand? And in here, take this username field, put a dot, what? Send keys. What do you want to send? This user. Make sense? Whoever is gonna use this method is gonna give me the username. I'm gonna take that username and send it off to that field.
That's right.
Where can
Username
we do hyphen?
What was the question? You all with me so far?
We find element already.
There's the username field, and we're gonna send. I'm just creating a method. This method, if you somebody who wants to call it, he's gonna say enter username, and inside the parenthesis, they're gonna type in the username. This method is gonna come here, take that username, whatever the user passed, and send it off right here. Okay, I know it's a little getting used to. Okay, what are the two more methods we need? Same thing, so copy and another. This one, enter password, and this would be password, and this will be password, but I don't want to send it to the username field. We got to send it to password field. Okay, but somebody said, did we actually fix this? And we didn't. Look at this, username. We got to fix that. So passwords ID is password. Take that, put it in here. And sign in buttons, it doesn't have an ID, it has a name. So we take this name login, go in here, change this ID to dot name, and that's the name. Okay, now we got the username, send key, username. This is enter username, enter password, and this would be click on, yeah, sign in button. And
But we don't need any parameter like click on sign in.
we don't need to do send keys.
No, yeah, we'll do.
And we don't need any.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Any what? Parameter. Yeah. Parameter. And it's not that. We're not sending anything. We just take the submit button. Do what to it? Click. So far so good? Okay. That's all there is to it in the page class. See this yellow line? It's telling you you probably don't need this. And sometimes that can cause an error. So if you don't, when you're done with this page, if you don't press Control Shift F-O to get rid of that, see, it's gonna go away. I pressed Control Shift F2 and it took it away. Unused imports, take it away. Clean up and you're done. Let's go to our test class now. How are we gonna use those methods here?
Code the class on the left with a page cut.
Yeah. Remember, If we go back to this page class, is this a static method or is it non-static? Non-static. I tried doing static, and for some reason it wasn't. There's more needs to be done, but you have to create an object of this class and then call this method. Okay. So for this framework, that's the way to go. How do we create an object? So if I wanted to use login page methods in here, I have to create an object for login page, right? So how do we create class name, which is login page, and then we give it the same name with the lowercase l, but camel case. Okay, and then new, like that. Yeah, you can hover over, and it's gonna say import login page. All right. Unfortunately, it doesn't work in this framework. I don't know why it doesn't work. All right. So somebody came up with a solution. They're like, and then the driver is here, driver is there. Some have the power, some don't. How do we kind of mix it all together, right? We know that we got this driver power from the browser factory. He was initialized in browser factory, and then we got that initializing power here. But login page does not. They have a driver here, but he doesn't have any. How do we connect all these drivers together? And the problem that this new thing doesn't work. There came a solution. Somebody wrote a class, and that class is in this library already given to you. It's called Page Factory. Okay. If you call this class Page Factory, and there's a method in that class called init elements, okay, and you take this one and you pass the WebDriver and you tell which class you want to pass it to. Okay, it does a couple of things. One, it takes this driver that you just brought it from the web browser factory and gave him that power. This method is going to take this driver, take it to the login page and give it to him. That's one thing. And two, it's also going to create this object with that new word that we used to use. We don't have to write the word new anymore, because this Page Factory has that new thing in there and some other things that will make it work. Does that make sense? So only for this situation, you just use something called Page Factory. Page Factory is not the same as Browser Factory. Browser Factory is something you created. Page Factory, somebody else created, comes with it. Comes with this framework. So when you say Page Factory dot init elements, I promise you this is the only new thing that you need. You're gonna learn. That's it. Everything else is gonna be same. This is it. Okay, this is it today. Only new thing. All right. So here's the driver. This guy is the same guy as this guy, who we got it from the Browser Factory guy. And he's asking, which page do you want me to send it off to? Right? Actually, I lied. There's one more new thing. Which page do I want to send it off to? So you type in login page, and if you put a dot, you just have to say class. Login page.class is where you want to send it off to. Are we good so far? You just got the ID badge to go to this login page room. Now, with this ID badge, you have access to everything in that page. All right, let me see if those methods already show up. So if I take this word,
Yeah, it's showing.
shows? Dot, look at this.
Click.
Are there something you created? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
You created this. Enter password, enter username is yours. Look, you said string password, remember that? It shows up. String username. Because you parameterized that, that parameter shows up here. Whoever is using that will be able to say, ah, that's what I have to put in. So if you're descriptive well enough in here, someone else using this method, it's going to be easy for them. And if you write ABCD, what are they going to think to put in? I think, do I have to type in ABCD? I don't know. Anyway, so it's already working. You got the ID badge, but here's one problem. You just gave that login page, you send it off. This method takes that driver and sends it off to that class. So let's go to this class and see what's going on. They instantiated this class, send it off, but we never associated with this driver in this class with that driver that was sent off to me. Did we? No. Right? That's the guy who has the license. This guy doesn't. All right? So, best way to do it is if you have a constructor. Remember, constructor gets initialized. This method gets called every time you create an object, right? So why have a separate method? Why not have a constructor method? And in that method, you give this guy the power. Understand? So in this constructor method, when you instantialize this class, if you create a constructor and say, whenever you instantiate me, and if you do give me something, which you see, we instantiated him and gave him what? Driver. So you come here and say constructor, and if you give me driver, which is web driver, okay? So here's, the license guy is going to come here. Understand? This code this piece of the code is going to do the driver, instantiate that class login page, and whenever it gets instantiated, this powerful driver is going to go to this driver.
And then goes to browser.
And we want this guy to connect to this guy. How? Here's what you say. You say, whenever you say this word this, okay, whenever you say this word, automatically it means whatever is in this page. Understand? So this dot driver, meaning you're saying this driver, he is equal to this guy. Done. Do you see color matching here and here? And you see the color match this one then this one? Even though they have the same word, Java understands that here's the license guy coming in. He is that license owner. And this guy doesn't have the license. And I'm going to hand over the license to this guy who belongs to this page. Clear? That's it. Huh? Confusing? It's gonna feel like that first few days. Yeah. And then you go home, take a couple of Tylenols, you may be coughing for a week or two, but it heals. Okay, it will heal. So you'll get a hang of it. Hang on. I said it's gonna be 2 o'clock, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna leave it off. Just let me do a few things, automate it a little bit, okay? And then we're done. But nothing new, all right? Let's see how we use it. So we got this login page, all right? And this is the line you just have to keep copying. And every time you create a page class, you just copy this much. Why? Because this you have to modify this for a different page class. Okay, can I just quickly show you browser dashboard page? Okay, just bear with me, please. Because if I show you a couple of them, you're like, oh, it's the same thing over and over. You gotta have a dashboard page class, don't you? So if I create a dashboard page here, right click, new class, dashboard page. You got this dashboard page. What you're gonna do is go to this login page, copy this WebDriver and the constructor. Okay, this much, copy that, put it in here. Make sure constructor has exactly same name, and done. Easy. And you take one of these, paste it in here, and you change it to whatever ID and username you change that for that particular page. All right. And if you're curious, this is going to be for dashboard page here. It's going to have, you're going to be using this to validate. So you're going to have dashboard title element, or just say dashboard title, and it may be ID or something, and you may have to change that. Make sense? Same thing. And if you want to have more methods in there, you write your methods in here. All right? No difference. Now, how are we going to use it? Here's login page dot. You say enter username, and username is, was it TechFiles demo? at gmail.com. Okay, that's it, guys. 2. Again, you're still accessing login page, aren't you? Login page dot what? Enter password. ABC. Isn't this easy? Look, in your company, you don't have to build the framework. You're just gonna come in and call. All right? And you may have to go to that page, and if there's no element, you put that element there. If there's no method, you just write in a method, which you already know. Okay? This framework just has this little thing that you just have to get used to it. All right, so let's see if it works. And then we have what? Login page dot click on sign in button. Let's see if it works. So if I right click, Control save, Control S, run as testng. Browser opens up, goes to the page, enter login and password.
Oh.
Did I put in a ABC123? That's why. Run. Open up. Enter username and password. Sign in. Can you do the rest from here? If you had this, would you be able to automate test cases? You just need to put things in right places and call from there. All right? Everything else is same. All right? If you want access to this dashboard page, which you're going to need, because later, now, aren't you going to validate whether the dashboard page showed up? Then you got to link dashboard page as well.
Do you use the same code?
Yes. Which line? Line number 17. You take this whole line. This is how you get access. You copy it, paste it here, but this is not going to be login page. You already have access to login page. You say dashboard page.
Dashboard test also, like will make a
Correct.
will make a dashboard test, right? When you're editing a dashboard page.
Yes. Dashboard page. Dashboard page. And hover over import dashboard. Here you say dashboard page.class. With me so far? And you can now use this guy and call for methods in that class. Do you notice that from the login page, or do you understand that this add contact test class, you may have to call dashboard page, right? Do you understand that even for this test case, you have to call methods in login page? Why? Because you have to log in. Every single one of these test classes, you're going to have to go through login. Every single one of these test classes, you have to go through and what? What other page? Login and dashboard. Yeah. All of them are going to go through login and dashboard page checking. Then it's going to go in and farther up. So you are going to see a lot of these test cases are going through and calling multiple pages. Okay, multiple. I don't know why that symbol came. Forget it. That's basically it. Okay.
So every time we have to call and for different, suppose we are working on an add contact page and add contact test. So in add contact test, we have to call that login test there.
Yeah.
Because that is the flow.
What about
Yes.
dashboard? We should have add contact as well. Page factory, we have those go in there. Dash and login in add contact page.
So in the dashboard page, you're only going to have these things. You're going to have this element. Remember, you hash out all the elements. You're going to have an element for this add deposit, add express. You may have a graph element to see if the graph is visible. You may want to test this set goals, that button locator or element. even this panel header. A lot of people test this panel head, whether this panel showed up. Sometimes if they made a change, this whole thing disappeared. So you can just test this panel header, and if it's there, then your assumption is this whole thing is there. Everything, all of this thing is gonna be in what class? Dashboard page class. If you wanna have a test case to test the dashboard page only, that test case is gonna be where? Dashboard test class. But you still have to call from that test class which page? Login page, because you have to go through that room to get to in here. Every room you have to go through. While you walk through this hallway, you also have to, suppose you have to go to another room and you have to go past this room, you're gonna have to instantiate that class for that room. And use whatever that's there to get through it. And complication just increases. Okay. And when you understand that, you are an engineer. That's what engineering is. It's all those wires. This is like methods are like wires. Electrical wires, one is connected with another, but you get it. Not everybody else get it, but you get it. That's why you make the big bucks. Any other questions online, folks? Any questions before we end the class?
Can you open the code, please?
Yes, sure. Yeah.
When we're gonna do the dashboard test, and in the dashboard test, we can call login page, right? Login page. But can we call just login user should be able to log in? Just this method. Can we call it, and it's gonna just go to the.
That can be done too, but there's no need for it. What you're saying is, what if I had a method that's called like this? Login, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that. And in here, you take all this code right there, put it in here, and not have this, but just call login. Can that be done? Sure.
You don't have to. Okay. So this is going to be the global. Okay.
And honestly, that's what is going to happen later on. Because you know, for other test cases, you do have to go through this anyway. So why don't I just say login? But login page, you are testing the page, so you want to go step by step, one at a time, and check it out.
Because we need to test this.
Because we're testing the login page. But if you're testing a
dashboard or bank.
Yeah, if you're testing a room on the other side of that room, you're just walking past it. You don't need to go walk around and check under the table on that room. But right now we're testing the login page, so we gotta go through every single one of these. Check if there's any gum, and we're gonna clean it out. All right. But if we're doing add contact, it's a different room, but we have to go through the login. We just call login. Have another method for it that does all of that. And just go, but go in that room and check under the desk and every single one of you to see if there's any gum. Make sense? Yeah. Other questions? Yeah. Okay. We're gonna automate a test case tomorrow with some more information, and we'll use this framework so it will all come clear to you more as we go forward. Again, notes are on that page. Also, you can clone the project. I wanted to give you that info today, but no time, so another day I will still work with you on cloning if you have any issues. Okay. For now, if you need extra support, contact Enrico. Okay, and he is gonna create a session with you one-on-one through online, and he's gonna troubleshoot and other things. They are thinking about putting me on board for 1 day a week in the evening to have an online session to debug any issues that you have on the homework. When that happens, I'll let you know. But until then, Enrico is your backup support. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.